Good morning and welcome to Story Time with Mr. Limada, and today we are reading Hidden Figures, and it is written by Margot Shetterly, and Laura Freeman does the illustration. So get ready for that one. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are reading Hidden Figures this morning. Please let us know where you are joining us from. Good morning to you, Zayana. Good to see you. Yes, you say, I like the books. Thank you so much. Please send us your recommendations. If you have any books that you would want read on Storytime, Zayana, let me know so we can read them. Good morning to you, Jin. How are you doing today? Welcome, and please let us know where you are joining us from. Good morning to you, Steve Wilson, and hopefully Tyler and Langston, and also Jess. How are you doing today? Thank you guys for the mural. It is up on the page, and hopefully a great idea that many families can use at home. Thank you, Langston. And give Bear a big hug for me, all right, Langston? Buenos dias to you, Isabella. How are you doing today? Good morning to you, Leslie. Mateo and Leon. Good morning right here in Auckland. Naima, good morning to you, and good morning to Nia, and good morning to Cairo. Noctula, Vundu, and Julia, how are you doing today? Welcome. Good morning to you, Ellen. It is a good one. It is a good one. I am excited as well. Yes. Good morning to you. Looks a little gray out here in Auckland today, but hopefully where you are, it is sunny, or you are keeping yourself nice and cozy. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you, Santino. How are you doing today? Please remind me your sister's name again. Good morning, Santino. Thank you so much for joining us. And good morning to you, Desi. Rocco and Clay, good morning. How are you doing today? I'm so glad you could join us. And how's Long Beach today? Sorry, I'd flipped my camera for a minute there. Good morning to you, Zaire. How are you doing today? Good morning to you, Isabella. Lily, how are you doing today? And how is Justine? Awesome. Good morning to you, Owen. And good morning to you, Ada. Who else do we have? Oh, Jen, you're joining us from Reading. Good morning to you. Thank you so much. I have a few friends that are out in Reading. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know where you are. Thank you, Julia. I am good. Thank you for asking. Oscar and Ruben, right here in Auckland. How are you doing today? Awesome. I'm glad you could join us. Thank you. Oh, good to know you're doing well, Santino. And your sister's name is Katalea. How are you doing today, Katalea? Thank you for joining in on Storytime. Good morning to you, Ali May. Thanks to you, Lily. And good morning to you, Josiah, joining us from Auckland. How are you doing today? I'm so glad you could join. Our book today is Hidden Figures, and it is written by Margot Shetterly and illustrations by Laura Freeman. We will be getting into it shortly because it is a bit of a long book, so we want to get started pretty soon. Awesome. Thank you, Jin. But yeah, so today, just keeping in mind that the challenge is still on, the word challenge. Please pick a word from any of the stories that we've read from Monday all the way through Thursday. Pick a word from any of the books, put it on a note card. Unfortunately, I'm getting glare. On a note card, write the definition of that word and send a picture to me, and you'll be entered to walk away with one of our word collector, official word collector, Storytime word with Mr. Limada word collector cards. Thank you so much. All right. And then Storytime, of course, can be found right here live 10:30 Pacific time every weekday. But we're also on YouTube and Instagram. You can find our recordings there. And then, of course, today the main business that we're here for is we celebrate the birthday of Mary Winston Jackson, one of the 4 women that we'll be reading about today. But of course, in our story, we'll also be celebrating Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson herself, Katherine Johnson, and Christine Darden. And remember that these women were doing amazing things at a time when it was considered impossible. So let's read their story and find out and be inspired. And I think for me, it is not just what they did in history, but it is what they do today and what they will continue today for generations to come. What that means, not only for the adults, but for our little kids that are growing up, and especially those little girls at home, that they can see inspiring role models like the 4 women that we're going to talk about today. So please enjoy, and we're going to get into our story, and we're reading Hidden Figures. So just take a minute to get settled, and then we will get started. Good morning to you wherever you are joining us from. You are welcome to Storytime with Mr. Limada. All right, enjoy. Hidden Figures by Margot Shetterly and Laura Freeman. Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, and Christine Darden were good at math. Really good. In 1943, the United States was at war, World War II. Dorothy Vaughan wanted to serve her country by working for the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, the government agency that designed airplanes. Having the best airplanes would help America win the war. Making airplanes fly faster and higher and safer meant doing lots of tests at the agency. Tests meant numbers. Numbers meant math. And math meant computers. Today, we may think of computers as machines. But in the 1940s, computers were actual people like Dorothy, Mary, Katherine, and Kristen. Their job was to do math. Because Dorothy was black and a woman, some people thought it would be impossible for her to get a job as a computer. She lived in Virginia, a southern state, where laws segregated or kept apart black people and white people. They could not eat in the same restaurants. They could not drink from the same water fountains. They could not use the same restrooms. They could not attend the same schools. They could not play on the same sports teams. They could not sit near each other in movie theaters. They could not marry someone of a different race. But Dorothy didn't think it was impossible. She was good at math, really good. She knew she was the right person for the job. She applied, and the laboratory offered her a position as a computer. At work, blacks and whites were kept apart. The white computers worked in one building and Dorothy and the other black computers worked in a different building in their separate office. Even though they worked on the same kinds of assignments, the black computers and white computers used separate bathrooms and ate in separate lunchrooms. America won the war in 1945, but Dorothy stayed on the job, still trying to make airplanes faster and safer. By 1951, the Americans and the Russians were competing to see who could build the best planes. That meant more experiments and more numbers. Lots and lots of numbers. And more numbers meant the need for more computers. That's when Mary Jackson got a job as a computer at Langley. She worked in a group that tested model airplanes in wind tunnels. A wind tunnel was a machine like a huge metal box with a powerful fan attached. Mary put model airplanes in the wind tunnel and blasted them with air from the fan. This experiment helped her group improve their designs on the models before building full-sized planes. Mary wanted to become an engineer, but officials said it was impossible. Most of the engineers at the laboratory were men. And to become an engineer, Mary needed to take high-level math classes. But she wasn't allowed to go inside the white school where the classes were being taught. But Mary was good at math, really good. And she refused to give up. She got permission to enter the school building and take the math classes. And she earned good grades. Because she didn't give up, Mary Jackson became the first African-American female engineer at the laboratory. Katherine Johnson was good at math and always asked lots of questions. In 1953, she applied to the laboratory for a computer job and was placed on a team that tested actual planes while they were flying in the air. Their research was used to figure out ways to prevent future plane crashes. In one of her first projects, she learned how to analyze turbulence. Turbulence is a dangerous gust of air. No one knows how many lives her work may have helped save. Katherine wanted to help the group prepare its research reports, so she asked if she could go to the meetings with the other experts on her team. Her boss told her it was impossible. Women aren't allowed to attend meetings, he said. But Katherine knew she was as good at math as anyone else, maybe even better. So she asked him again, and again, and again. Katherine asked her boss so many times that he finally invited her to the meetings. Katherine was good at math, really good. And because she fought to be treated the same as the men, she became the first woman in her group to sign her name to one of the group's reports. In the 1950s, the Langley Laboratory bought a machine computer that could do math faster than the human computers. At first, these machines made mistakes. Dorothy learned how to program the machines so that they got the right answers. She taught the women in her group how to program the computers too. In 1957, Russia launched a satellite known as Sputnik into orbit around the Earth. The United States started building satellites to explore space too. For years, the laboratory had used math to design airplanes. Now it would need math to create spaceships as well. The government decided to change the agency's name from the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or what we know as NASA. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy told Congress, "I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth." A man on the moon? But the first step to getting a man on the moon was to send an astronaut around the Earth. NASA was going to need to hire more space experts and more people who were good at math. Really good. The people at the laboratory had to work together from morning to night to figure out how to send astronaut John Glenn into space and bring him back home to Earth safely. Katherine Johnson knew she could use her math to help. "Tell me where you want his spaceship to land, and I will tell you where to launch it," Katherine told her boss. Katherine helped calculate the trajectories, or the pathways that the rockets traveled through space. She had to plan John Glenn's exact route from the takeoff in Florida to splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. There was no room for error. No one was better than Katherine in solving these tricky math problems. Days before his mission, John Glenn wanted Katherine to double-check the machine computer's trajectory calculations to make sure it hadn't made any mistakes. When Katherine said the numbers were correct, Glenn was ready to go. On February 20, 1962, Glenn blasted off into space, circled the Earth, and made his way back home safely. Meanwhile, laws began to change so that black and white students could go to school together. Blacks fought for the right to sit beside whites on buses and to drink from the same water fountains. At the laboratory, black and white computers started working together in the same offices, eating at the same lunch tables, and using the same bathrooms. Black and white moviegoers could sit next to each other in the same theater. Across the country, people started to think about ways to bring equality to all Americans. Kristen Darden was good at math, and she loved electronic computers. She started working at Langley in 1967. Kristen wanted to become an engineer, and thanks to Dorothy, Mary, and Katherine, she knew it was possible. Eventually, she became an engineer for supersonic airlines, planes flying faster than the speed of sound. But her first job was to help with NASA's mission to the moon. The people at the laboratory prepared for years to send astronauts to the moon, about 238,900 miles away from the Earth. Finally, on July 20, 1969, the world watched as 3 men arrived at the moon in their Apollo 11 spacecraft. "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," said astronaut Neil Armstrong when he stepped onto the dusty surface. But it was also a giant leap for Dorothy, Mary, Katherine, and Kristen, and all the other computers and engineers who had worked at the laboratory over the years. The moon landing was a success from takeoff to splashdown. But there was no time to rest. Once NASA landed astronauts on the moon, the people at the laboratory began dreaming of sending humans to other planets, such as Mars and Jupiter or Saturn. They started to imagine hyper-fast space planes that could travel around the Earth at 7 times the speed of sound. The next adventure wouldn't be easy and would require lots of tests and lots more numbers. But Dorothy, Mary, Catherine, and Christine knew one thing: with hard work, perseverance, and a love for math, anything was possible. The end. Thank you so much for joining Storytime this morning. I hope you enjoyed that inspiring story of the 4 women, the 4 hidden figures. But also, as we celebrate them, we know that we are celebrating women like them and many other people who are coming after them. The little girls at home, this is your inspiration. Look at these women and what they did and know that anything is possible. You can do it. Let us just read, because today it is Mary Winston Jackson's birthday. So we're going to read her profile just a little bit, and then we will get back into our shout outs. So let's just read a little bit about Mary Winston Jackson. So that is Mary Winston Jackson. And Mary was born on April 9th, today, but way back in 1921 in Hampton, Virginia. She graduated with highest honors from the all-black Phoenix High School, then graduated from Hampton Institute in 1942 with degrees in mathematics and physical science. She taught math at an all-black high school in Maryland for a year before taking a job as a bookkeeper back in her hometown. She married Levi Jackson and they had 2 children. Mary began work as a computer at Langley Memorial Aeronautical Laboratory in 1951. She worked in a supersonic wind tunnel, studying the impact of wind forces that were nearly twice the speed of sound. In order to be promoted to engineer, she needed to take graduate level courses in physics and math. She had to petition the city of Hampton in Virginia for permission to attend the classes because they were held at whites-only high school. She completed the classes and in 1958 became the first African-American aerospace engineer at NASA. Late in her career, Mary took a position in NASA's Equal Opportunity Office, where she worked to support the careers of other women and minorities. She volunteered for more than 30 years as a Girl Scout leader. She died in 2005 at the age of 93. Thank you so much again. So please, Hidden Figures, if you've not seen the movie, watch it. If you've not read the book, get a copy or come back to Storytime with Mr. Limada and listen once more. All right, so thank you to everybody that joined in. And let me just go back and quickly check, see who else joined us during that time. All right, Zaye Leilani, good morning to you. Good morning to you, Josiah, thank you. And if I've missed you today, I will be sure to catch you tomorrow. Thank you, Leslie. And good morning to everybody that is on. Rocco. All right, Rocco, I know you have class at 11, so please enjoy. And if you're in my class, we will be meeting at 11:30. Everybody else, thank you so much for joining in. And please remember that it is not what these women did in history, but it is what they continue to do today and what they mean for generations to come. So I hope you've had an inspired morning from these women and many others like them. And please join Storytime again tomorrow for another exciting story, exciting book. And tomorrow we will be reading Grandma's Records. So join me for that one tomorrow morning. But for now, please have a lovely, lovely morning, whatever you're doing, whether it's class, work, or just enjoying time with family. Much love from Mr. Limada, and I will see you in the morning. Bye-bye.